behalf of GameboyTV, from my very heart, from my family to yours, happy Thanksgiving to all. Just like with everything this year, Thanksgiving is going to be celebrated much differently thanks to the ongoing pandemic. This video, I won't try to make it too long, but there are going to be two distinct parts to this episode. The first part will be my thoughts regarding the state of the pandemic, giving you the usual numbers update and what I believe the direction of the pandemic will go now that we're entering the winter months. And then the second part, pretty much a catch-up from the last episode, and of course, Thanksgiving. Currently, as of right now, it's 10:28 p.m. still on Thanksgiving, but it's 7:28 over in the West Coast. The latest update, courtesy of the Johns Hopkins University in Medicine Coronavirus Resource Center, was updated as of 9:26 p.m. 60,868,965 global cases, with 1.4 million deaths, 1,430,389 to be exact, with just a shade over 39,000 recovered. So, again, numbers may be skewed. We knew that since the beginning of the pandemic, but let's just say that a lot of people have been infected and a lot of people have passed away from this, but a lot of recoveries as well. So, over the last several weeks, the number of daily cases has been rising at a very alarming rate now that the weather has been getting much colder, combined with the fact that people are gathering again in much larger numbers. In fact, the last time there was less than 400,000 new cases of COVID-19, you would have to go back to October 20th. And ever since then, that number has been hovering between around 450,000 and 650,000 new cases of coronavirus. I'm afraid that as big as these numbers are, it's going to get worse. Like I said a moment ago, it's not just people gathering in large numbers, but at least here in New Jersey and in the Northeast, it's actually been a normal average fall, where temperatures are where they should be for the time of the year. The environment is right for SARS-CoV-2 and its other common cold coronavirus relatives to spread readily. If this is the kind of numbers we're seeing, and we're still 25 days away from the start of winter, who knows what we'll see when we get the brunt of the second wave. Remember, when COVID-19 became much more widespread in mid-March, we were just a few days away from spring. This winter will be the real test to see just how extensive SARS-CoV-2 will ravage the world. And by the looks of it, it's not looking too good. But I do want to stay on the positive by saying we're not going into lockdown again, but we gotta prepare to cross that bridge between now and then in the next couple of weeks. But with people gathering in large numbers for Thanksgiving despite being advised not to, I would not be surprised to experience Christmas sheltering in place once again. Now, I am a believer, and I've said this before in my previous videos, but if you're someone who happens to stumble upon this video and watching this series for the first time, by the way, you have 22 other episodes to catch up on. I am a believer that this virus will become the common cold. In fact, the majority of people who do get COVID-19 are asymptomatic, or have symptoms no different from the seasonal cold thanks to prior exposure to the endemic coronaviruses. But right now, it is not the common cold. It's a turbocharged cold, I'll give you that. Fatal to the immunocompromised? Absolutely. No one can dispute the fact that hospitals are filling up to the brim in such a short amount of time that a lockdown would make sense so as to not overstress the healthcare system. But we still cannot be reckless. but we don't need to be overly panicking again. It's not the end of the world, and it's definitely not the worst pandemic in history with the way things are. Even though things happen to be, be on the decline very fast, in the grand scope of things, it's not the worst pandemic in history. Case in point, in the last video, I mentioned about the 1889 Russian pandemic, which many people probably still don't even know was a pandemic. It was one of the pandemics that is obscured, kind of dug very deep in the in medical history. Many people still compare this pandemic to the 1918 Spanish flu, when it's really shaping up to be more like the 1889 Russian pandemic. It's still continuing to be being disputed as coronavirus OC43, which killed 1 million people, and in today's world, today's population, this overpopulated world that we are in, 1 million would be equivalent to 5.5 million COVID-19 deaths today. But we still need to be vigilant and err on the side of caution to protect anyone that that can't risk getting SARS-CoV-2. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And we're probably on mile 5 of 26.2. But we'll get there to the end. We just have to do it safely and not quickly. Patience is a virtue. And right now, those words scream in our ears now more than ever. Will you listen? Just like most of you folks out there, I usually love to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on NBC. And it would be something that I would wake up early in the morning and to get freshened up, because I wanted to devote, my entire time, the entire 3 hours watching all the performances and the balloons and the floats. But for obvious reasons, this year had to be a reimagined parade. And most of this year's parade was filmed ahead of time, including the Broadway segments, marching bands, dance groups, the floats, and, of course, the balloons. It's ironic because, in a metaphor for the year we're having, it was raining to start the parade. And you can tell when the pre-recorded segments came in because the ground was dry, or the sky was blue and bright and sunny. I personally liked the presentation. I don't know if you did as well, but sometimes, it's a welcome change to see, the Broadway performances, like, taped ahead of time. There was so much quality put into, the choreography of some of these Broadway performances, even in this tough time that we're experiencing when we can't be doing things live and in person. One day though, I would like to see a Super Mario balloon, and perhaps maybe a dance performance to the tune of Jump Up Superstar from the hit game Super Mario Odyssey. And unless there's a copyright issue that prevents Mario from getting its 30-second spotlight, I don't see why they shouldn't have a Mario balloon or a float, because they've featured Sonic and Pokemon throughout the years. Speaking of Super Mario Odyssey, I can't help but to think back to 3 years ago. And so the year was 2017, and I had just graduated college, and I went through an extended period of time without working, coupled with some personal attrition that I was dealing with as well. It made for quite a very depressing period of time from the summer of 2017 to probably the first half of 2018. But anyway, when I got hired by the current piano studio that I was working for, I still am, it was a slow start, and I wasn't making the money that I thought I was going to make. And Super Mario Odyssey was a game that helped me get through the tough personal times I was experiencing those 3 years ago. And it was on that particular Thanksgiving in 2017 that I had the pleasure of playing what I think is the highlight of the entire game, when I got a chance to play the new Donk City Festival portion where Pauline sang Jump Up Superstar while playing a level that paid tribute to Mario's origins in the 1981 game Donkey Kong. And yes, folks, you are seeing, those pictures that you are seeing on the screen right now are actual screenshots that I took during my first run-through of the game. So other memorable Thanksgivings included last year when I spent it at a cousin's house. We had a nice feast with plenty of turkey, ham, and sugary sweets. It was also during that particular visit when I really started getting more intrigued about anime thanks to my two younger cousins. In fact, you see on the screen pictures of two characters from My Hero Academia, and just for the record, I haven't watched it yet, but I plan to. There's just so many animes out there, and there's just so much to binge watch, but I just simply don't have much time, unfortunately, now that I'm getting a little bit busier with work and doing virtual lessons. It's not the first time that I attempted to get into the genre, but after going years without much interest, I figured I'd give it another chance. My cousins were able to show me a couple of episodes of Attack on Titan, but it didn't hold my interest, not because of the violent nature of the show, but just simply put, it's not an anime that I would personally watch if I'm only starting. Fortunately, thanks to accumulated gifts on Amazon, I was able to purchase 3 seasons of the original Dragon Ball, which I watched through the summer during this pandemic, along with the hit television show NCIS. Another memorable Thanksgiving was 5 years ago, 2015, when it was 75 degrees, and I actually played basketball wearing a t-shirt and shorts. So it was unusually warm. That year was quite a warm year, to say the least. But it was also shaping up to be a somber Thanksgiving. My mother recently lost her brother and was in the Philippines at the time, and my dad had work in the afternoon and evening, and therefore leaving me all alone on Thanksgiving. But fortunately, though, I had some close family friends who did host a Thanksgiving dinner. I was informed about that last minute, and therefore it salvaged what could have been a very memorably bad Thanksgiving. And now you obviously look at this year's Thanksgiving. Some of us stayed home, some of us traveled, and there were some of us that took a big risk amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. One thing is for sure, there's a lot to be thankful in a year where we've experienced an upheaval of normalcy. There's a lot to be thankful in probably a lot of ways that we never probably even thought of in years past. Be thankful for your health, because there's a lot of people who are clinging to life because of this virus. Be thankful for the people who are dear to you, your parents, your friends, your mentors, etc. Because there are some people who have lost parents, uncles, aunts, cousins to this virus. They're experiencing their first Thanksgiving and will experience their first Christmas without their loved one who because of this virus. And let's also be thankful that in the coming weeks and months, a vaccine is about to get shipped out. And while it won't end the pandemic, it won't make the pandemic disappear, there will certainly be a lot of unknowns with how the average human body will react to getting inoculated. It is one step closer to helping this virus transition from a deadly virus to the common cold. And let's be thankful to those who are in the healthcare system. Doctors, nurses, paramedics, and scientists who work around the clock to understand more about coronaviruses to ensure that we're prepared for the next big pandemic. And on a personal note, I'm very honored and privileged to have somebody in my family who is currently a nurse who lives up in in Jersey City, and she had the coronavirus and was able to survive it. And it just, you feel for her. She was sick for for a couple of weeks with a pretty bad cough, and you can just imagine what the thousands of other doctors and nurses and what they're going through in what is now a time when hospitals are already getting pushed to the brink, even though we are nowhere near winter yet. So that's it from me, and I hope that you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the weekend. There's a lot like I said, there's a lot to be thankful for. Please put a smile on your face. These are pretty happy times, relatively speaking. And embrace that. Take advantage of it. Christmas is coming up. Okay, and we got that to look forward to. And obviously New Year's, when we'll finally get rid of this horrible year and look forward to the next year. So that's it from me once again. So thank you for watching.